Hello and welcome to the Home Assistant podcast. My name's Phil. Joining me as usual, I've got Rohan. How you doing, mate?
Hey, good. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. And today we've got Greg with us. Hey, mate, how you going?
Oh, doing great. Good to see you guys.
As usual, this podcast is sponsored by Home Assistant Cloud by Nabu. For a small monthly fee, you'll unlock powerful features like secure, effortless access to your system from anywhere, your choice of voice assistants, offsite backups, and more, all configurable in the UI with no YAML needed. It also supports the development of Home Assistant, ESPHome, and other Open Home Foundation projects. Click the link in the description to learn more. We'd also like to give a shout out to our Patreon members, including our executive producers, Benny and Rob. You can help support the show and get early access to episodes, all in an ad-free feed. To support the show, check out homeassistant.fm and click Patreon in the menu. Greg, thank you so much for joining us today. Tell us, whereabouts in the world are you coming from?
Yeah. I live in a small town called Percy in Pennsylvania. I'm about 40 miles north of Philadelphia and about 80 miles east of New York City.
Nice. And how long have you been using Home Assistant for? When did you start using Home
I
Assistant?
probably started with Home Assistant around 2019 or early in 2020. I went, it's a long smart home journey. When I was a teenager, I wound up with this copy of Texas Instruments had a book of their TTL chips, which were like the original Logic chips they built a lot of these PCs from. And I remember looking at it, trying to like, how would I design a counter that I could use to time when I need to get up and turn on the water? Like it was just this random thought that I had no idea how to do any of it. But I remember having that thought like way back. And
So this is must be like, is this before like X10 days? Like we
X10 was probably around. My deal was we were broke, so I didn't have. I could read
Yeah.
about whatever I wanted.
Yeah,
I couldn't
yeah.
actually touch anything, right? But I took went to a high school, tech school for high school, and took electronics. Did that. Wound up in the Air Force, and through them, went to college, got a degree in computer science, and like many years later, got to the point where uh, I wanted to start doing some home automation things.
Nice.
Yeah. So I started with Home Assistant in a VirtualBox,
Hmm.
or sorry, in VirtualBox in VM, and had some real weird issues with that. And about the time that the Blue got announced, which I think was like, I thought it was the end of uh, 2020, but it might have been later in the next year. But I ordered that right away, and I moved over to that. I've been on that ever since. And what's sitting behind me now is a mini PC that I need to migrate to because I keep crashing the Blue when I compile some complicated ESPN binary. But yeah, so it's been a long journey to getting there, but it's been kind of fun. I absolutely love it, right? So
Absolutely. Well, it sounds like you have a background in electronics too, which is, I guess, a really good combination between, you know, enjoying home automation and doing things yourself, right? DIY
right,
kind of
yeah,
deal.
yep.
Why don't we talk about that for a second? Like, what? So you're doing some complicated stuff on ESP Home. What kind of stuff are you building? What do you?
Yeah, so a couple of years ago, I have a pretty good friend who's a professional brewer. So
Mhm.
I've been homebrewing beer for I don't know 10 or 12 years, and know him from the local brewery that he opened. And he has since left
Yeah.
there, but he came to me. I think it was like the beginning of 21. No, yeah, and he brought. I don't know if you've ever seen these little these PID controllers. A lot of breweries use these to control temperature for tanks, right? And it's great, except you got to be standing in front of it in order to do anything, even read it, right? And he said, "Hey, can we read these remotely?" Well, I looked at it and it has Modbus on it, which it's an old school automation protocol for industrial automation protocol. And I sent him away, and 2 weeks later texted him and said, I learned enough about Modbus to be able to set the temperature, read and set the temperature through Home Assistant. And that was right as the electronics world fell off the cliff. Do you remember that? We couldn't buy a thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so he was
Supply chain.
working to install this at somebody's brewery, and he couldn't buy a controller. So like nothing happened. So a year later, he comes walking in with another one, and he says, "Can you make this one work?" And same thing. It was Modbus, but it worked differently. So same thing, got it working. We actually deployed that a couple of years ago into a brewery nearby, and they were our test bed for a year. And then he wanted me to do it at the brewery he was working at, but he wanted to do it without those controllers. So I built something all with ESPHome that uses one wire temperature probes, and you just control. All you have to do is control a 24-volt DC valve that open and close the glycol coolant. And so I learned to do that a couple different ways, but I had never used the ESPHome before that, so that was a fun time. And that was all through 2024. I had left my prior employment at the end of 2023, and since they asked me to leave, there was a lot of severance involved. So I spent 2024 not working and getting paid, and so I used it. I invested all that time into this, and so it was very interesting. So we wound up with a product that we use. There's this manufacturer in China that makes these great ESP32 devices, and so that will run 16 tanks, and so we have installed in, I don't know, almost a total of 5 breweries now, and
Okay.
it's an interesting thing, because along with temperature control, now we're starting to do gravity. So they make these devices that it's show and tell time. They make these devices that you put in the tank, and they're sensitive enough. The accelerometer is sensitive enough to measure changes in liquid density, and so we can pick that up. It uses Bluetooth, comes out of the top of the tank. We can pick that up with a Bluetooth proxy, report it back to Home Assistant. They get that on their dashboard too. And then we've done a pressure thing as well. So we can help them control pressure and fermentation, which is a whole nother thing. So I spent today trying to get some very old proximity sensors working on a project that I'm working for a small homebrew shop here. And finally got that working today. So that's very interesting. So I'm refurbishing it for them. And so I had to get these, they're just photoelectric cells that essentially are solid state relay. Anyway, it works pretty interesting. So I do a lot of that, and then there's just my home, and the home stuff is just as complicated, right?
So that's cool. So you've made a whole business out of this. It sounds like, and it's a nice, like you said, it's like, hey, I'm not working anyways. Might as well do something productive with that. You learned a new skill, and you not a new skill. I guess you had the skill, but it's specific application of that skill, right? Because you knew electronics, but you didn't know beer electronics. Let's call it.
I was an absolute noob when I touched this. Like I know some concepts, but every step of the way was a question, and you ask on the ESPHome Discord, and I always feel stupid afterwards. Not that they're trying. It's like, I should have read that too. It's just sometimes it's bad, but there's a lot though. Well, there's a lot there.
Yeah. But that's awesome. So that's really cool. It's a great way to make money on the side too.
Yeah. It's, we do it. My goal. So these small, I don't know what you know about the U.S. brewing industry, but in the 70s, there were like 50 breweries in the United States. And as of 5 years ago, there were like 9,000, right? So this craft beer just exploded. And numbers are starting to consolidate a little bit. But these small brewers have no data about their beer if they don't collect it manually, right? So they can get the temperature, and that's great. I'd like to give them a chart that showed them the temperature, right? And if something happens over the weekend, they don't happen to be there because it's a small brewery and they might want to be off on the weekend. They get an alert that says, hey, something happened. And the same thing with the gravity. Like they go in every day and they test it. And like, what if we just recorded it for you? Would that be close enough for what you need? And so, just trying to give these brewers data so that they can understand why the quality of their beer is the way that it is. So a lot of them, they just think they got to spend $100,000 to get this data, and we're trying to do it an order of magnitude less than that. No, 2 orders of magnitude less than that. So we really want to make this, accessible. Now I can only work in Eastern Pennsylvania because that's as far as I'm willing to, well, I love to travel, but I can't support it. So, but it's been fun.
So when you're going ahead and going into these breweries, are you installing a local Home Assistant instance in the brewery as well, like running in an office somewhere that then connects to all these sensors, or have you got like a master node somewhere on your premises that feeds it?
Yeah. So the way that I do it is we put in a water not sensitive box, right? Help me out, I'm losing
Like an
word
IP rated box.
water resistant box. Yeah. And in that box, I mount this controller and I mount a Home Assistant instance or Home Assistant. I've been using yellow, whatever works. And whatever other electronics and power stuff that we need. There's usually a smart switch in there so I can restart some things. And it gets connected with Ethernet. I put a little box, usually above the tanks, that has a small ESP device in it that can do the proxy stuff. But I also connect the tanks up to that because one wire is a little sensitive with very long distances and disparate. It's not easy to work with, but it's nice and stable. And then I run PoE to that from the box that we put in. So it's a little bit of like hub and satellite thing, but they get a full standalone instance. Their data is on that box. Of course, it's backed up. They have their own cloud, Nabokasa cloud account, so it can be accessed remotely. That's the only thing that's cloud in this, right? Because we want the data to be there. We want everything to be locally. And I tell them, if you want to take this over, it's yours, right? If you don't want me around anymore, you can take it and run it. All your data is right there. I'm not locking you into anything. So fortunately, you guys aren't available to take that business away. So it's, you need to find a good Home Assistant guy if you want to do it, but it's absolutely there. And I don't want to play those games, right? I want it to be open to them and accessible and whatever works.
Yeah, that's and so I know we're recording this. And I think a couple of weeks ago, Home Assistant announced they're stopping production of the Home Assistant Yellow. Have you decided, or are you thinking about like what hardware then you'll replace the yellow with? Would you go to something like a green, or is that not powerful enough for what?
Yeah, what I run into is for some devices, the config's complicated enough that it can crash if there's not enough RAM. And so I was just thinking about this the other day. I think I'm going to go the mini PC route, right? Because these little, I don't know, I have a B-Link that I picked up from Amazon, and I can put 8 gigs of RAM in it, and that'll be more than enough for what I need. But I think, and that was the beauty of the yellow, was I could get a Pi CM4 with 8 gig on it, and I knew I wouldn't have an issue, right? So, yeah. So we haven't decided, but I have to decide shortly because another install starting next week. So.
Yeah, that's cool. And how does the process look like for an install? Like, are you then go out to a brewery and say, okay, you've got, and you'll have to excuse, I'm not a beer drinker, so I
That's
don't know
okay.
the terminology, but you've got a few tanks here. Okay, I need to put up these connect controllers here. I can go into the office here. I need to run PoE. Like, are you doing a full end-to-end install, or are you looking at what existing infrastructure they've got and then tying that into Home Assistant?
Yeah. So, that first brewery we tied into their existing PID controllers.
Yep.
And I could do that and retrofit. But the problem is that each of those controllers then requires some research to make sure I know how
It's
to
a
make
lot
it
of
work.
effort.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And plus, we try to stay current on Home Assistant. And so the reason I have this one here is because I just took it off of my test instance sitting over here, right? Attached to an old Pi 4. So if I do a different device, I'm going to need a copy here. And so it gets pretty complicated. So I'd rather just install from scratch. And so, typically the process is I show up, I do a walk through a site, I do a site visit and, get some sense of distances and, work with them to figure out where we're going to put the main box. I'll need power there and I'll need an Ethernet drop there. I'll offer to do that if we need to. I'm not an installer. Like that's not what I did in my career. But these breweries pretty easygoing typically. And so, once they do that, I come back for a couple weeks, do some work, anything set up, probably get 50% of the setup done. From the back end side, and then go on site and start hanging things and running wires. It could be more efficient, right? And so if I was going to a place that was 60 or 70 miles away, I'm going to do a lot more up front here, so that I'm not and making 100 trips over there. They're just going to cost money that's not going to get reimbursed, right? So but I do the whole thing. I do the whole thing myself. Hang the boxes, run the wires, make the connections, and then when they're, typically I'll ask for one tank that I can work with, and so when they're comfortable that that's working, right? Because the thing is, it's their beer, and if it gets ruined, it's their money, right? And so
it's all of it. Yeah,
I need their trust, and so hey, here's the app. Here's what it looks like. We're going to cut this tank over, play with it, maybe use water, whatever. And so make sure that it's working okay. And then we can move forward with cutting the other tanks over. It's not a long process, right? I literally am removing temperature probes, swapping temperature probes, and then I make 2 connections to the valve up top. But, I'm absolutely doing it myself, which is going to limit how successful I'll be at this.
No, but as long as you're passionate about it, right? Like, as long as it's, I think you said you're retired now, so you can now, this is literally some beer money for you, right? Like you can go around and, put these in tanks and also keep up with the latest things in ESPHome and Home Assistant. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're enjoying it. The people in the brewing industry tend to be good people. And so like, that's the best part is just like, you get to know somebody new, learn what they're passionate about, share a recipe with them, talk about what they're brewing and why they want to. And it's just, it's fun. They're good people and, fun to be around.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So let's talk about your home a little bit. So, I mean, you're doing all this stuff out for, for other people. What are you doing for yourself?
Yeah. So probably everything. So when I don't know, probably somewhere around 2015, this is how I really got into Home Assistant. One of my employees, we were systems engineers, so I ran a small data center, had a team of engineers working for me, and one of the engineers was a big just really into this stuff, right? There were only a couple of us that were actually geeks, and everybody else had a day job, but he and I were. And so he comes in one day and he shows me his Kivo lock. I don't know if you remember these. They were these Bluetooth locks. Yeah. So you walked up, and as long as your phone was nearby, touched it, and about 7 out of 10 times would unlock the door. And it's like, well, this is fabulous. I got to get this. And so I did. And very early on, my wife loved it. Because, you're always either kids with you, you've got grocery, you've got something, you're coming through the door and you're right.
For sure.
And so it's just great
Yeah.
to not have to pull out a key. And so that really got me passionate about that. So as that was doing okay, I at some point invested in the Smart Things Hub and bought a Slage lock that was Z-Wave. And we got that on the front door. And then we could do geofencing. And so that was like the really key, right? It's fairly safe where I live, right? So if people want to come in, they'll come in through the window anyway, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
The brick is the master key in all places, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. And so, the Slades lock, and now we're using Yale locks, but it's the same thing. We get a half a block away. They allowed you to shrink that home zone last year, which was great because it used to be a block away. Now we're literally within like 2 house widths, the door unlocks, right? And that's just perfect. That's just perfect. The door is open and the dogs know we're home. I mean, it's just...
One of the wins I've been able to do recently is similar, right? Like we have Reolink cameras and doorbells around the house. So with the integration with Home Assistant, you can actually detect when a person is in the frame of the camera. So now when our phone has just been marked as home, and as soon as a person gets seen by the camera, then the door unlocks.
Then it unlocks. Okay.
As opposed to, like, because of that radius thing, right? Like if we're just driving past and we're just hitting that radius, you don't want the door to unlock and then not lock again, right? But this way, it's sort of a double surety that someone's at the front of the house, near the front door, and has just arrived. So then open it.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Yeah, they've done a lot of that Reolink integration. I have 4 or 5 Reolink cameras around. I don't use a doorbell camera. We actually don't have a functioning doorbell. We have 2 corgis. Yeah. And they're our functioning doorbell.
That's
right?
your doorbell.
You don't need a doorbell.
They know before we get close. So
we
turned it off 5 years ago and it hasn't been back on. So.
Yeah. Well, you already automated the doorbell. Like you don't need to.
Yes. Yeah, they're
That's
great.
Right.
Both you and the guest. They don't need to push a button. It's already been done.
They are way more expensive than a regular doorbell, though.
They are way more expensive. That's right. Yes, just today, as a matter of fact. So my other trigger at the beginning. So we live in this 120-year-old house. So it's a brick house. It's 2 stories. It's square, and there's 20 windows in it. And literally back in the like late 90s, early 2000s, my wife kept single candles in all the windows, and she would walk around every evening and turn them on, and then she'd walk around every night at bedtime and turn them off. And like the moment she did it, I thought, gosh, there's got to be an easier way. And I went through like, well, could we run one circuit through the house? Like all sorts of things. Literally nothing, right? There's nothing you can do. But then, we got Smart Things. And now I can buy these smart outlets, or I can get a bulb, whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was one of the first things I did was automate those lights. And we don't use those anymore, but we still have lots of decoration lights, right? So there's, lights on the string lights out in the patio. There's some between the 2 houses with our friends. And there's various candles around the house. And so that's all automated as well.
Sorry,
and
you said candles, and I'm like,
how
old are you? Like, is your wife going around like lighting these candles and then putting them out every night?
Yes. Electric candles. Those candlesticks.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. How old are you? Yeah, not that old.
That's funny.
Sorry about that. But so those 3 things, really got me started. I'm trying to make her life easy. She's not always appreciated, but I'm trying to make her life easy, right? She just says that's not really a problem. I don't mind doing this, but I mind.
Becomes a problem when they're not turned off, though, right? Like, and then you go, oh, I could have automated them turning off.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, you just want to go to bed because you're tired, right? So 10 o'clock every night, and all goes out. So
love it.
But so I think, go ahead.
Have you, with the windows, you said you got 20 odd windows. Have you automated the blinds as well yet?
So no, that's really expensive, right? You guys know. I mean, they're not cheap, and so we've not even discussed that. Most of our blinds don't move, right? So the blinds in our bedroom move because we like it dark, and so they go down at night. Most of the blinds around the house are like 40% down, maybe 50. and they just stay that way, right? So we don't do a lot of up and down on blinds, and so there's really been no need to go after that. I mean, in my heart, I want to do it, but
Yeah,
from that
it's very
perspective,
expensive.
that like the heat and cooling thing, we've got to replace the windows before we do that, right? So, and the windows are being replaced next month, but we're getting there finally. But so it's just not been a thing for us. The thing, one of the things I remember, I went back. So when I started thinking about Home Assistant, I started listening to this podcast, and so this was back, like I said, probably in 2020, and I went back to the very beginning and listened to everything, and so I could just be exposed to it all. And you talked a lot about templates back then. You brought up templates all the time, and so when I finally got into it, started looking at it, it's like, wow, this is like it's foreign language, right? I mean, it really is getting into YAML. But what I found is the power in the data in that you can get to with templates, and some with helpers, but with templates is just amazing. So, we were talking before the show that I've got one of these smart plugs on my sump in the basement, right? And so, it's an old house. The ground is shale. There's a big hole in the middle of it. When it rains, the water goes in the hole. And so the pump has to be working, right? And so the sump, I have it set up to tell me how many times it's run today, how many times it's run this week. And it just gives me a sense of confidence that it's working. And so I do that with, there's a dehumidifier down there that's like, it's a whole house dehumidifier, but it's just in the basement. And I want to know how much energy is it using, and how often is it running? Like, is it, because not that I know what the weather is, but you can really tell by looking at that, what's going on. It's like, yeah, it's been really dry. The dehumidifier is not run in a week, so.
Yeah, and also, like, if you're not seeing those power spikes, that could be, maybe it's failed. Maybe you need to replace it, before it becomes an issue. Especially in these devices that are generally set and forget, right? Like, once you've automated it, it's sort of out of your mind. So you sort of need those automations to say, hang on, this hasn't run. Now you need to look at this. Don't forget about this.
That's right. Yeah, I was, and as we're talking, I thought I need to look at the power use when they run and alert if it exceeds that, right? Because that's when the motor's going bad.
Yep.
And like the sump absolutely should have that. Interesting one recently was, so have you heard of AI on the edge?
Yep.
It's a open source project. You can install an ESP32 with a camera, and you mount it over a meter. People use it for gas and electric and water. And so our water is not, it is electronically gathered. I don't know how to access it. I imagine it's some sort of tunable radio I could do, but I went down this path. And so I've got an old oatmeal container, camera mounted on the end of it, and it's recording the water. It's doing really well. It's been up 6 months. It's remarkably reliable.
Ooh.
Once you get, like, tuning it is a real bear, but once you get it working, it's pretty reliable. Well, a couple of weeks ago, my neighbor texts me. He says, "Hey, the water was running on the plant in the backyard. I went over and shut it off. Just want to let you know that, I might have shut off more valves than you want." And so my wife's a big gardener in our backyard. It's absolutely beautiful. And she'd been out watering that day and, left the hose partially on, watering this plant. It's been dry, so it really needed it. Well, it was on for hours. And so that next day, and it had happened again, but recently, but the next day I'm sitting on my couch, how about 100 gallons an hour? If I exceed 100 gallons an hour, tell me. And so, and it doesn't even have to exceed it. It just has to be on that rate to exceed it. And so I could do that because I have the data, and it doesn't take that much. It was a little bit of YAML. If the rate is over 100 gallons an hour, tell me about it, because we don't want to be there, right? So
That's actually
it's
kind of cool. I wouldn't have thought to do something like that. So I've actually been thinking about that too, about monitoring my water and just, you know, pulling that data in and what have you, right? Again, this is not a like a I need this or like whatever, but
yeah.
just it might be nice to see. Um, and one of the and that's actually why I know of the project is because I know quite a few folks are doing that for water. Um, but well, it turns out that in my region where we are, we can apparently the smart meters you can read through just getting a software defined radio, whatever.
Uh,
And we had Gavin Campbell on the show,
oh yeah. I
I don't
listen
know,
to their
like a year ago,
podcast.
some of that, right?
Back in
And
Yep.
January. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and Gavin lives not too far from me, and he was like, "Yeah, I got the new meter, it's awesome." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't, and I don't have it now." So, but so and so, but yeah, so I've been looking at that, but my meter has like a little like I don't know, like a little
yeah.
triangle or something like that that turns, right? And it's like the faster that triangle turns, the faster or
Yeah.
the more water you're using.
Yeah.
But that to me doesn't translate to like
Yeah.
how fast it's how
Is that
many,
all
I
it
don't know.
shows you? It's not showing any output?
I have the numbers. Like it does show me the
Okay.
numbers
Okay.
too, but I never thought
Yeah.
to like clock it, right? And like how
Yeah.
fast
Yeah.
do a
Yep.
diff between like, I don't know, like minute one and minute two, and then I don't know, like
Well,
make
I mean,
some kind of a
with
model
AI
that
on
way.
the edge, you could set it, but say every 5 minutes it feeds in what the number is, and so then it's pretty simple YAML to say, if in fact it might actually report a rate, and I don't recall offhand. It might actually report the rate because it knows how fast it's running, right? So it may already report that, but it's once you have the data, and this is really what I've learned. Like I want everything in there. I don't care what it is. I want everything in there because if I want to ask a question or want to solve a problem, I want to know the data is already there. I want to be able to go, oh, well, I already have this. Let me go find some way to make it work. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, it's a very cool project, and that's a cool
yeah.
cool way you're doing it too. I really like that.
I, I'm always astounded by the quality of free software and the
Oh yeah.
passion that people have and are just willing to just put it out there, go do it. You know,
Yeah.
I just love that. It's a great. There's so many cool little things that are running in the house that are detecting the birds in the backyard from the feed of your camera. I mean that
Yes.
your
Yeah.
RTSP feed. That's awesome. My wife loved
Yeah.
it. Like now you see what's in the yard every day, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Now, I know we've just been talking about water valve controllers, but I do want to interject and say if you're looking to upgrade your smart home, you can't go past Zeus. Zeus have just released their brand new Z-Wave long-range siren and chime, the ZSE 5800LR, which you might remember Agnes teasing when she was here a few months ago. You can trigger audio and visual LED alarms based on smart sensors or other conditions, and the audio speaker plays your own files for personalized automation, or there's a section in the preloaded library. Zeus are an official Works with Home Assistant partner, helping Nabu by providing long range sensors for testing the new Home Assistant Connect ZWA2 radio. Zeus offer a range of innovative and affordable devices, including water leak sensors, water valve controllers, and smart plugs. Their new Zen 78 high power relay allows you to control and monitor higher load appliances, up to 40 amps, which is perfect for pool pumps, air compressors, and other high power outlets. For the best prices on all Zeus products, head over to thesmartesthouse.com. That's thesmartesthouse.com. And great, just talking like there's a few products there that you might be able to leverage too, right? I can imagine a high powered uh, amp controller there, like looking at your sump pump or something like that. Um,
Yeah.
a lot of
I
options.
am currently so this controller I told you I should have did a different one. This is King Kony, is that manufacturer in China that makes these great devices. But they have one just for power monitoring and it has 30 inputs.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
so I've got 15 installed I've got 30 lines. I got about through 15 about a month and a half ago and got busy. And so I'm absolutely going to monitor every line in that box rather than retrofit the whole thing with.
Yeah.
I'd love to retrofit it, but that's just too much money. So not worth it. So. But we're starting to do some of that in the brewery work too. I recently automated a 3-phase pump for the brewery so that it would operate both automatically based on temperature or manually based on, the operator needs it on. And so I get to learn about contactors and, 3-phase, screwed that up.
Right.
I mean, circuit was off, screwed it up, went and learned it. I know, Phil, this is going to scare the crap out of you, but we touch electric here and we don't burn stuff down. So, but
but you've got fake electricity, right?
We have what?
That stuff will tickle you. That stuff just tickles you. Our stuff, really hurts.
Well, no. I've got 240 in my house. Don't.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Actually,
our houses have 240. We just have 220 volt legs. That's all. So absolutely no. You can. I mean, I had a 240 volt air conditioner when I moved in here.
Wow.
So I mean, it's absolutely in our houses. Yeah, it'll do more than
just don't stick your tongue in that outlet. Actually, don't.
That's
don't
always
stick
a
your
bad
tongue in the
idea.
outlet for that matter.
That's
general advice.
Good safety tip.
So, right. So Greg, what else? What kind of other stuff are you doing around the house, especially with automations and that kind of stuff?
A couple of fun ones. So we have a fish pond, and we feed the fish manually. I am at home many days. My wife works at the local high school, so she's out during the day. But she comes home at lunch, and often she feeds the fish. And for a couple of months, it was, "Did you feed the fish today?" And I would say no, and she would go out and feed them. Well, I put a little, I thought about it a while. I was like, well, I got a motion sensor, so I put a little presence sensor, just one of the PIR things that sits behind the fish food bag.
Yeah.
And I have a little ESP, the M5 stack stuff. Have you worked with that at all? Like they made that Echo that they use for the first voice.
The little Atom
thing that they did, right? So they make a bunch of different sized devices and different. Yeah. And so I just have this playing. Yeah, that's it. And it's got that little light in the front. Yeah. Right. So in the button. So I just hung it there. And when you pick up the bag, it turns the light on. And after 8 o'clock at night, it turns the light back off. Right. So she can just tell by picking up the bag whether that fish have been fed. Right. So it's just like a little, I like the cognitive load thing. I think about that.
Yes.
I just don't want to think about, I'll just do it myself. It's like, yeah, I know. I can just do it myself. But what if I don't have to? Right. The lights in the kitchen, we've never touched them. The kitchen was redone 3 years ago. We don't use the light switch unless Z-Wave is a mess, which it is right now. I got to get this thing deployed.
Nice. Yes.
Yeah. It's just, why? Who cares? Right. I just don't have to think about it. It just takes care of itself. And that's one. Yeah. And I think, and the other one was a big safety thing. So we've got it's a square house, stairs down, our bedroom on the second floor. It's very dark at night. I told you we like to keep the lights off, lights, and so I never want to turn that light on because that's way too bright. I do not want to wake up in the middle of the night. Mm-hmm. And so just this year, we put in a couple of motion sensors upstairs and down because it's a 180-degree staircase, one of those. And when we get up in the middle of the night, the second there's a landing in the middle, that light turns on at like 2%. And it's more than enough so that we can see the steps and stay away from them. And, and it's just like that kind of stuff that's real simple. And so now it's much safer for us. And we never have to think about it. Right.
Do you have any backups in place for critical things like that? So one of the things I'm toying with at the moment is detecting when my Z-Wave network is down, but the Zigbee network's up. So my motion sensor are on Zigbee. I could then say, okay, Z-Wave's down. I can't turn these downlights on, but I could turn the Zigbee light bulbs in the room on instead. Have you thought about doing any, for this light, like for your stairs? It's a critical part, right? Maybe there's another light I could turn on instead.
Right. That's a really interesting idea because as soon as you say it, I think, oh yeah, well that light in the bedroom could get turned on. So we have a guest room, like we don't, rarely anybody in there. If that light turned on, wouldn't be right in your eyes because it's tucked away. But no, I've not gone down there. Here's an interesting correlation to that. When I was working on one of my projects, I don't know, a month and a half ago, I fed the config into, I tend to use Microsoft products, so I'm using Copilot. So I fed the config into Copilot and had it validate it for me. And stunning, it did it. It figured out what it was, looked at it, said, some typos in here, which I did. And then it said, it might be a good idea to detect if there's an error on some of these sensors, right? That would just
Interesting.
never occur to me, right? And so
Yep.
now I'm putting
Yeah.
this in somebody's brewery. It's a really good idea to know if.
For
Now I've
sure.
done some of it. I'm not completely, ignorant of the idea, but I love that it suggested the backup. Like, this is great, because what I want is an alert that says I've lost the temperature probe, right? Because
Yep.
again, that might save 120 gallons of beer, or 1,000 gallons of
Yeah.
beer, right? Like, these tanks are big, so some of them
Well,
can be. But
it's nice because, like, for home, it might not be as important because it's like, I don't know, whatever. Like, we're just using the light example, right? It's like, okay,
Mhm.
fine, Z-Wave's
The
down,
light doesn't
fine. I'll
turn
just
on. There's a switch
use
there. We know how to use a light
Exactly.
switch, right?
Right. Yeah, I
physically
believe
turn
in
it
that.
on, whatever, right? Exactly. But if it's overnight at, your business, that makes a big difference because,
Mhm.
again, like, maybe beer brewing is very profitable, but I mean, if it's like any other food business, it's probably not like super profitable, right?
No.
Like, it's so wasting that is not going to help you,
Right.
obviously, right?
Yeah, you never want to lose revenue,
Yeah.
right? There's just
At the end of the day, it's product that you
Yeah.
lost, right? It's
Yeah,
money literally
absolutely.
down the drain.
Yeah, and that's what we're there for, right? I can't be there to help them make it better and then make it worse, right? That would just be, it just completely defeats the purpose, right? So, so I have one other fun one that I want to tell you about. So, are you aware of the team integration in? It's not Teams, the team integration. So there's an ESPN integration. I have to look up the exact name of it, but essentially you define which teams you care about, and like ESPN reports scores on literally everything. So I don't think I could do our high school team, but I follow the Phillies because I live near Philadelphia. I follow the Eagles, I follow the Flyers, and I follow Penn State football. And when one of those teams scores, it detects it. I have a strip of LED lights underneath our counter in the
Nice.
kitchen,
Yep.
which you can see in the living room. And it flashes red for the Phillies, green for the Eagles, blue for Penn State. And it just, flashes like 10 times. And so, like, even if you're not watching the game, you're sitting there and it's like, oh, Phillies just scored.
Yep.
It's just like a fun little thing. I did it for
Yeah.
I want to say the playoffs 2 years ago for the Eagles. I think is when I first did it. And, we had friends coming over, and it just makes it fun, and it's, again, someone took the time to write this thing. They keep it updated. It works. Remember, you'll recall, perhaps, Rohan, back in the 2000s, the NHL actually
You used to have
sold a goal light, right? You can mount it in your garage. You tell it what team, and it would somehow.
That's exactly what I was thinking of just when you said that, right? And that was going to be my next thing. It's like, oh, it's like one of those things.
Exactly. And so you can absolutely make one. But this is, any flashable color changing light bulb you have, you can, I've been thinking about doing one in my office because I spend a lot of time up here, but it's just, again, it's just fun, right? It's just
What's the polling time on that? Like, is it polling every minute? Is it using like
it's
webhooks
polling
to?
a lot. I'd have no idea, but I will tell you, I have to put, because if you stream, your game's delayed, right? And so I'm on Hulu, so it's delayed. And I had to put a delay in there because we just got rid of cable probably a year ago. Had to put a delay in there, like 30 seconds. Give me some time. But even then, it doesn't always. We'll get ahead of it, right? And so I'll get a flash over here. It's like, darn, which is great if you're, if you want to know, it's a good thing, right? So
Yeah.
But yeah, it must hammer. So I don't know if I don't know what's behind it. Maybe there's a webhook that they can register for a team. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never thought to ask, but yeah, I hope they're not hammering the ESPN API. But I mean, it's been there a couple of years, and ESPN parent doesn't care.
Yeah.
I mean, or do it and whatever ESPN's not poor, so it's
No, and you figure
they
all
can
of our
upgrade
phones are doing that, right?
and get it.
I mean, if you
Yeah,
follow a team, you can
it's
get live updates on your lock screen, so they're already doing it. So they got to
well,
be
and
used
that's
to the
that's
load,
what I was
right?
going to say. The infrastructure is there. It's only
Yeah,
in. I mean, we're talking NHL. It's only in their advantage to be able to
yeah,
provide that data for people, right? Because it's
exactly.
otherwise, honestly, you're letting your fan base down to some extent,
Right.
right? It's like if I can't follow
Yeah,
it on
and you
my
got to
phone,
figure there's probably 10
whatever.
people in the world like me, right? So it's not like there's 100,000 people installing this this
Well, I
little
mean,
thing and doing it, but
even if there was, but to your point, it's like you have your phone apps, you have your whatever, right? And
yeah,
that all makes a difference, right? And if it's just tapping into
Mhm.
that same data source, then
Yeah,
I
it
don't
should
know.
be negligible,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Oh, yeah, I think that's really it. The we want to mention, we were talking about the data. So there are two integrations that I think are really key: the history stats integration and the utility integration. So the utility one, you give it a data point and you tell it to track it weekly or monthly or quarterly, and it will. And you can give it the start date, but like say your water bill is starts on the 5th of the month, and you get it. We're up, in the US, it's every quarter you get a water bill, right? And so it'll just track it for 90 days and then restart. And so you can go look and say, well, last quarter I used, 8,000 gallons of water. And then you can match that up with your bill. So that utilities integration really is a powerful thing for the data.
And the fact that it's so versatile as well, like it can work, if someone's got a monthly billing cycle or a quarterly or right? Like the way it's been written to be dynamic, I think is very was good foresight from the developers too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Smart people work on this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then the history stats is very similar, but you just use it for accumulating. And so you want to watch your water use today, water use this week, water use this month. It's very similar in that, but these things just sit there and work. And once you've configured it, it's there forever, right? So those,
And then
I
you can
think,
automate
if
on those stats too. Like, for example, I've got a sit stand desk. I haven't done it yet, but now that you're just mentioning these history stats, I'm like, oh, I could, I know when
ah,
the sit stand desk is at the bottom. I know when I'm in
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
office. I could then count, all right, how many minutes have I been in the office while I'm sitting down, prompt me to now
right,
stand up.
right,
Yeah.
right,
Um,
You
yeah,
should
yeah.
you should definitely pair that with like an integration into whatever video calling software you use because otherwise in the middle of a meeting it'll just be like you're just like getting out of the frame, right?
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. No, I
yeah.
don't think I could. I don't think I would automate the desk moving. That's yeah.
That'd be kind of fun.
Fair.
Excuse me.
I mean,
Yeah.
you totally could, right? Like, I mean, Phil, you and I
Sure.
both have the IKEA desk, I think, and it's like there's an integration for that, so nothing
Yeah,
stopping you.
mine's flaky, but yeah, I don't like the idea of the desk. Like, what if I've got something,
Yeah,
underneath? Or yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
the
I
idea of
wouldn't.
something
I
in
wouldn't
front,
automate
right?
it either. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
100%.
Big difference between flipping that switch and having it happen
Yeah,
on its own, right?
but yeah,
Yeah,
but like to your point, like the history stats stuff, is pretty powerful, right?
yeah. There's so many of these, not hidden. They're certainly not hidden, but there's so much depth to the Home Assistant product
Yeah,
that you literally just have to, just take some time every couple of weeks and just read through the documentation, stumble upon something new, right? Or read through the forums or watch Discord and see what's happening. You'll stumble upon something, and I get that point where, oh wow, and it becomes the most important thing I have to do, right? I'm
yeah.
going to go do this
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now. So
And like
I like that.
in your
Yeah.
position here, right? Like you're making a business out of this. Like there are features in Home Assistant today that if you explored down the path of, and you could go, hang on, I can use a Bayesian sensor, I can use a history stat
mm-hmm.
sensor to now report this to the brewing companies.
Right.
That can now be a feature that I can sell, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
and put that out as another selling point, right?
Right. Right.
And that's what
Yeah,
Home Assistant can do today. Like, as you said, you got to keep up to date with Home
Yeah.
Assistant. There could be a new feature coming out in 2026 that adds a whole new dimension just to your
absolutely.
business as
Yeah,
well, right?
changes something.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah,
so yeah,
it's what I find too is when I have an idea and I go ask about it. Hey, how would I implement this? And then, it feels like 9 times out of 10, someone says, well, have you looked at XYZ? And I'm like, no. And there it is, right? That someone's already been down this path before, right? So, um, but yeah, no, it really, it just always gives you something else to tinker with and, learn. And I'm really big on that. Like I really want to learn something new every day. Right. And so it's
I'd love to know, like, there's obviously a lot of integrations now with like ChatGPT, Gemini, et cetera, et cetera. Has there been any thought into feeding a lot of these kind of like, again, beer stats as an example of like specific gravity or whatever, taking all those, sending that there, and I don't know what you'd get out of it, and maybe what I'm saying is completely moot, but um, to be like, hey, these stats are all lined up, your beer's perfect, go, I don't know, pour yourself a pint right now, kind of deal,
yes,
right?
please do.
I have
Yes.
no
Yeah.
idea how this works clearly, but
Yeah.
but yeah, has there been any
That
thought into doing any of those kind of things?
that's really interesting. I have not, I mean, I already mentioned, I do use AI myself. I don't use
Yeah,
a lot. I don't have it tied into voice yet. I haven't gone down any of those paths,
right.
but yeah, that's it is a very interesting observation though. I mentioned how, Copilot is able to analyze that. What's really fascinating, if you've not ever done this, I was just doing it today. I was working on a little config, and by the variable names, it says, "Oh yeah, you could absolutely you actually built a neat little fermentation monitoring thing." And I'm like,
Yeah,
wow, so if you use something that makes sense to you, it makes sense to it, and
yeah,
and so yeah, I would not be surprised that if you fed some data, multiple data points like that, different vectors. So here's temperature and here's, gravity and something else about it. Then it could have very well have some interesting
yeah,
insights into what's going on. Yeah. Or even watching it, right? So if that data was getting fed in once an hour and had it decide that there's a problem, I'll bet it could absolutely provide some insights there.
especially when it
yeah,
can look
Yeah.
over a whole bunch more sensor data, right? Like it can know like the weather outside, the weather inside. What's
Right.
these points here, is the humidity
Hmm.
okay? Um, yeah, take all that
also
data
finding
and then
anomalies,
decide.
right? Like,
Mm,
yeah, like,
Right.
hey, this is if you this is your, I don't know, third attempt at this flavor.
Right.
The first two attempts looks like this.
Right.
The third, fourth, fifth was start to get a little off. Oh, maybe stuff's not
Hmm.
sealed properly. Maybe I don't know. Whatever that looks like, right?
No,
And
but
it's like,
you're
hey,
exactly right. You don't. I mean, I don't know what it might
some
be,
cool
but
stuff,
it could be those
right?
things. And part of feeding the data, I feed the data in the Home Assistant, but I also install InfluxDB just so that data lives forever, right? And just yesterday, I started thinking about how I might be able to pull the data into a package that we could pull out and share, right? Because that's kind of the challenge right now. Is like I'm not visual. I mean, I'm very visual. I'm I'm not a designer, right? And so building a report for me is just painful. And so, but I want to, so how can I package this data together that says this is your hazy IPA? It started on this date, it finished on this date, and here's the gravity and temperature and something else about it, right? I like the idea of the weather. That would be pretty interesting. Not that the vessels aren't sealed, but perhaps the uh, pressure could have some uh, minor effect. But I love that, and then for them to be able to say, I want to look at the history of beer X this year, and so what you've brewed 4 batches. Here's the profile, temperature profile, and blah blah blah, and let them. This is data I want to give to the brewer. Like you should know this about your beer. What do you discern from it, right? You know what it tastes like. How does it taste different from the beginning of the year?
Maybe they could even grade it. Like this is, quality A, B, C based on this data, right?
Yep. Yeah. Or the other way around, they could say, this beer was exactly what I wanted this time. How does it look different from the other times?
Yeah.
And at least know, because you've got ingredients, and ingredients can vary. And so it could be that, the hops are different batches would turn out differently, or the whatever, the barley might not have been malted as well. Who knows? But if it's your temperature or your yeast health, and so the beer doesn't ferment as fast because the yeast's not healthy, you could tell that. And it would be great to say, our tasting panel gave us, 5 stars. Why is it? And then be able to give this data to them to help in that analysis, right? And at least maybe eliminate, if not be able to say that was why, they could at least, well, it wasn't this, it wasn't this, it wasn't this. And so now we have somewhere else to look. So yeah, that's my ultimate goal, is to be able to give them that data. And I just need to figure out how.
You mentioned before that you're sending a whole bunch of the YAML over to Copilot. Are you then writing these automations in YAML and pushing them up to the Home Assistant instance, or are you writing them in the UI and then exporting them out as YAML to give to Copilot?
So when I talk about that, the ESPHome config, of course, is all YAML, right? And so that's the config that I write automations in the automation editor. That we actually don't do a lot of automations in the environment, right? Because it's not so much about that, although there are some things we absolutely want to do. We automate around alerts, of course. So we don't do a lot. Home Assistant is really a user interface more than anything in the brewery, right? But I do want to be able to do temperature profiles, so we could tie gravity to temperature changes. So hey, when this hits 2 points from the end, shoot up the temperature to 70 degrees, leave it there for 48 hours, bring it down, crash it, make it 35. And we could absolutely automate all that. Now most brewers are going to want to do that manually, but we can offer that, and we should be able to do that.
And in terms of the notifications, are they going straight to the brewer, or do they go to you and then you notify the brewer?
Yeah,
Like,
no,
how do you?
they go to me because because I'm interested in it working. But no, I use, depending on what it is, I can use Critical Alert on iOS or Android, and or just a regular alert in the app. But I do like to push it right to their mobile device and give them.
So does that mean they have to install a Home Assistant app on their phone and then you configure the notifications to them?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, because so what I don't sell them is an interface. I don't sell them something to put on the wall. I can, right? Typically what they do is, well, I have this old iPad. I said, yeah, that'll work perfectly, right? So
Yeah.
I configure it, I'll mount it and set it up. But most of the breweries don't have that, right? The young guys in the breweries, their phone is what they live on, so they don't really care. One brewery is interested in putting it on their TV in their tap room, and so they could get the interface up in living colors.
Yep,
because their customers would be interested in it, right? The beer geeks come in and drink beer, and they like to see the data too. So, but yeah, mostly it's right to their phone because that's where they live.
Yeah.
And you
nice.
know that, right? That's, yeah.
That is cool.
Thanks.
Awesome.
I don't think there's anything else, is there?
I don't think I have anything else I wanted to mention.
Yeah,
It's
I think
fun.
I'm good.
Great. All right, well, wrap it up. Greg, thank you so much. I wish you the best of luck in your retirement, and hopefully your business doesn't grow too big that you can't manage it. But yeah, it sounds like you're doing some cool stuff with both Home Assistant and ESPHome, and we really appreciate you coming on today to tell us all about it.
Thank you. And I really appreciate you guys doing this for, gosh, how long has it been now? A while.
I think we're coming on 8 years, I think.
Yeah,
Don't wanna look at the
that's
number.
great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's been a fun resource. Yeah, absolutely fun resource. Thank you.
Well, thank you for
Appreciate
listening.
it.
Cheers.
Thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.